Hey NBA fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Chat Sports, and today we have some fresh NBA trade rumors. As the season continues to churn, those trade rumors get more and more important as teams are trying to make their runs, obviously, to make the playoffs in 2020. Let's start right off the bat with the Sacramento Kings wanting one LaMarcus Aldrige. This one is really starting to get very, very interesting over the past couple of days and weeks because the San Antonio Spurs are continuing to lose, meaning they're probably going to be sellers at the trade deadline. We've talked a lot about DeMar DeRozan in the past. Well, now his star counterpart, LaMarcus Aldridge, could be up on the trading block as well, and it looks like the Sacramento Kings could be very, very interested because right now the Kings have worked themselves into that 8 to 9 slot in the Western Conference and could very much be trying to make the extra push with a guy like De'Aaron Fox to go ahead and be a 8 seed or 7 seed in the Western Conference. There's actually a quote from from Frank Urbina of hoopshype.com who said this about LaMarcus Aldridge, quote, landing Aldridge would be huge for their playoff odds this season, something they have not done since 2005-2006. The longest active streak of utility in the NBA. The one area the Kings could use some help at is at the front court, where young Buck Holmes is presently the starter. So they would move Holmes to the backup position. He'd be very, very good against other backup centers, and you have LaMarcus Aldridge starting at the 5 for the Sacramento Kings, and which would really, really help out their front court. I think it'd be fascinating to see the Kings try and make a playoff push. They have nice pieces like a De'Aaron Fox. You add a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge, who is familiar with battling it out in the Western Conference for playoff spots and actually going to the playoffs. So this could be a match made in heaven, especially if the Spurs are sellers, which I really think that they will be at the trade deadline because of where they're at right now, not only in the West, but also just as a team in general. They probably want to accumulate draft picks. They probably want to get a little bit younger and do a full restart down in San Antonio. Okay, big question here. A lot of Spurs fans, a lot of Aldridge fans down in the chat. We're going to take a quick little break in terms of having a little commercial here. Just let the commercial run up top and then scroll down below and answer this question for me here. I want to see what you guys think. Should the Spurs trade Aldridge? Type Y for yes, type N down below for no. Also, should the Spurs, we're going to pin this comment down below. Should the Spurs be sellers at the trade deadline? So Aldridge, should they be sellers? Should they trade Aldridge, DeRozan? Let me know what you guys think about what the Spurs should do at the trade deadline. Again, little ad's going to run. Scroll down, comment, and then go ahead and come on back. All right, moving on here. How about the Miami Heat looking to unload some players and make some moves at the trade deadline? There's a lot of buzz going on right now about James Johnson and Dion Waiters, who are no longer starters. They've lost out their starting roles to a lot younger group like Adebayo and Nunn and Hero and Duncan Robinson. So this could be a scenario where the Miami Heat are trying to offload some of those big contracts to try and free up some cap space to maybe bring in another player, because Johnson is due about $15.4 million this season, whereas Waiters is due $12.1 million this season, although it looks like it'd be pretty hard to move either player because of cost, so you'd have to throw in a young player into the mix or perhaps a draft pick. Now, again, we said Nunn, Hero, Robinson. A lot of the success for the Miami Heat is because of the young core that they have right there, so they might be a little bit hesitant to do so. But I think as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, looks like James Johnson and Dion Waiters could be floated out there as potential very, very cheap trade targets, especially if your team has a lot of cap space and is looking to, acquire some bigger contracts just to go ahead and fill the payroll, which a lot of teams tend to do at the NBA trade deadline as well. But the Heat are a surprising team in the Eastern Conference. I think make a lot of sense in terms of trying to restock at the trade deadline, maybe add one more piece by getting rid of some pieces like we just talked about to go ahead and make a run. Because right now, I think they're just a few games out of first place in the Eastern Conference. As we go ahead and show you the Eastern Conference rankings, yeah, you see that they're right up there. They're very, very close to chasing the Bucks down for the number 1 overall seed. Jimmy Butler has been a huge success along with that young core down in Miami. It'd be very interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. Question here, who is the best team in the Eastern Conference? Is it the Bucks? Could it be the Heat? Another team? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Moving on here, Warriors. Could they be trying to stockpile draft picks and have a complete fresh overhaul in 2020 via some of the lottery picks in the draft? Now, they're already expected to have a top 5 pick in this year's NBA draft, and there was a lot of speculation that the Warriors would try and trade that pick to acquire some, stars or some other players, some role players to come in and help Klay Thompson and Steph Curry next season because, of course, they're injured. But now there is speculation that the Warriors are expected to keep all of their draft picks, and if they decide to go ahead and trade a guy like D'Angelo Russell, they could have 2 first-rounders, 2 top 10 draft picks that they are actually going to use. They're going to make those selections and go ahead and put young players young rookies, young potential stars around Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in 2020. Let's wait and see what happens with that, but I think it's interesting what the Warriors are doing right now. And actually, we have a quote here from the San Francisco Chronicle saying, this was from a Connor Latourneau, I think is how you say his name. Quote, I've been told that if the Warriors get the #1 pick, they will almost definitely keep it. If Golden State gets another pick in the top 5, I still think there's a good chance it holds on to that selection. So again, the Warriors have been rumored because they already have stars in Klay Thompson and Steph Curry that you might just want to, get rid of the picks and bring in other role players and kind of rebuild. No, it looks like the Warriors are in fact going to try and stockpile draft picks, get as many as possible, and use those to actually make selections and build a much younger roster, which makes a lot of sense. Remember, Draymond Green's getting a little bit older. They lost Andre Iguodala. They've got younger overall. I think they want to continue to kind of rebuild and revamp that roster behind Steph Curry and Klay Thompson going forward, not this season, but obviously next season. What do you guys think? Should the Warriors keep or trade their picks? Type K down below for keep. Type T down below for trade. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Speaking of trade deals, these will affect your team. We guys all know this, but feel confident in your team right now. You feel confident in other teams in the NBA. Put your money where your mouth is with our friends at BetDSI. Right now, we got a deal going on. Chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code DEAL120, and you will get a 120% deposit bonus whenever you guys first sign up. Again, chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code DEAL120. You put $100 down, it turns into $220. You just want to put 10, it turns into $12. So it's really not a bad deal overall. I encourage you guys to go ahead and check that out because there's money to be made every single night the NBA is on. You can do it with our friends at BetDSI. All right, moving on here. Vince Carter. Could he be a trade deadline target? The answer is most likely yes, because the Hawks right now are 5-17 at the time of filming this video, and Vince Carter is still playing some decent minutes off the bench. His numbers are not going to pop up and wow you, but still, the guy who's been in the league for like 50-some-odd years has said in the past that he wants to play for a championship team, and again, the Hawks could be sellers at the trade deadline, at least for some of their older players. They're a very young team, but they do have some older players like Vince Carter who could be on the move. Vince Carter told ESPN's The Jump this summer, quote, "Every player wants a ring. That's always been a goal of mine and a dream of mine." And I think that if you're Vince Carter, you're looking at the current situation right now in Atlanta. I know they have no John Collins, so they're kind of dealing with his PED suspension, and they're trying to get everyone healthy back from injury because Kevin Huerter, the young shooting guard, has been a little bit hurt as well. I think that they could still try and get Vince Carter as like a courtesy trade and say, Vince, we appreciate all you've done for the city of Atlanta because he has really helped lead and build that locker room and build this young Hawks team. They could say, Vince, we appreciate you, but go win a ring, here, go to the Lakers, go to the Clippers, and he can still be a very crucial bench player coming off the pine and really trying to give you 10 minutes, 13 minutes in clutch playoff time that a lot of other young bench players are not going to have the experience to go ahead and do so. I think trading Vince Carter would be a win-win for both squads because the Hawks would show, hey, we appreciate you, we don't really need you going forward, not helping in this rebuild in terms of winning on the floor, we like what you did in the locker room, but overall, go win a ring, and I think that's what he's going to try and do with the Hawks. Who's been the most disappointing team in the NBA this season? What do you guys think? Is it the Hawks? Is it the Warriors? Is it someone else? I think the Hawks are very, very disappointing in terms of the fact that they should have been a lot better than they are, especially with Trae Young coming into his second year and the additions of DeAndre Hunter and obviously Cam Reddish as well. They've been struggling mightily, 5-17, a 10-game losing streak at one point in this at one point in this season, and it looks like it's not getting any better anytime soon. All right, final bit of news here. Bradley Beal. Yes, Bradley Beal could be a surprise trade deadline target, even though he signed an extension this offseason through 2022. So remember, this was a big hot topic that he might be traded to the Lakers this offseason. Then he flipped it all and go ahead and signed with the Warriors, re-signed with the Warriors, despite the fact that, or not the Warriors, the Wizards, despite the fact that the Wizards were coming off of a very, very poor season. But it looks like he could still be a surprise trade deadline deal. There is a lot of people in and around the NBA who thinks that Bradley Beal is more attractive as a trade target because he actually has a contract that's longer than a year. It's not expiring this offseason. So the Wizards could look at their current situation. I know that they're playing better than people think. They're not the worst team in their division because that's actually the Atlanta Hawks. But they could still go, you know what? We could probably get a king's ransom for Bradley Beal. We could build through the draft. The draft looks like it's going to have some good young stars. we're not going to compete in the Eastern Conference, regardless of how we feel right now, we could go ahead and make the move for Bradley Beal, who so far this season, 28.7 points per game, 7.2 assists, he's shooting 35% from three-point land. He's fantastic, and there are a lot of NBA teams that would give up a pretty penny and a tall price and a high price to go ahead and bring in the current Washington Wizard. All right, before we go, subscribe to chatsports.com. We always appreciate you guys. We're growing 143,000 subscribers right now. It's crazy. Hit the red subscribe button. Hit the notification bell as well. And we'll see what happens going forward. Again, we talk a lot of NBA trades here on the channel. All the news that we hear, we share with you guys. We keep an eye on the Spurs and Aldridge. We keep an eye on Bradley Beal, and obviously with the Miami Heat. Again, for Chat Sports, I'm Thomas Mott. We go ahead and sign off. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.